briefings, and this briefing is devoted to the topic saving orphans in Donbas. We are speaking to Mr. Andriy Mykhaylovskyi, head of the NGO Ukrainian Union Automaydan, Oleksandr Ivashkov, coordinator of third 100 of Maidan Self-defense, and Myroslav Hunya, director of the Christian Family Foundation. Good afternoon. I'm Andriy Mykhaylovskyi. I'm head of the Ukrainian Automaydan. This is an association of NGOs. Currently, we have the ATO operation in Donbas, and volunteers, together with the third 100 of Maidan Self-defense, found out that those children, orphans, who stay in the anti-terrorist operation area, they have a lot of problems. We found the first group of children in Debaltseve. This was children's section in local civic hospital in Debaltseve, and they were not evacuated. Also, we found those children who required medical treatment and medical assistance. And we followed up the situation with those children, and we found out that some of those children required heart surgery, and those children were down, for those children, neither hospitals in Donetsk nor hospitals in Kiev were available at that moment, because there were no special Medicare equipment to bring them, to transport them to Kiev. Fortunately, we found a possibility to bring them, to evacuate them to Kiev, and one of those children, a girl, has undergone heart surgery successfully, and one orphan still remains in the hospital. And now we are holding negotiations with another orphanages to evacuate orphans from Donetsk region. These were children which were either left by their parents, because parents were left with grandparents, because their parents, they went to terrorist groups, and now they are fighting. Thus, we found one grandmother with 4 grandchildren, and the grandmother did not want to fly out from that area, but we negotiated that we will take these children and bring them to safer place. Good afternoon. I am Ivashkov Oleksandr, third sotnia of Maidan Self-defense. Unfortunately, now there is a tough situation with the children, especially with small children, those whose parents were killed or died, and in this situation, when we have a lot of problems with IDPs, with the local population, with pensioners who are IDPs, but not sufficient attention is given to those children who remained in the DNR and LNR territories. As of the moment, we're discussing a theoretical possibility, theoretical because I'm not sure we will be able to do this just tomorrow, but we have a theoretical possibility to evacuate several hundreds of children who are either orphans or remained without parental care. And I think we are speaking about thousands of children. We should save these children. Unfortunately, Ukraine cannot deliver funding and social assistance into the territories which are occupied by terrorists. And this means that orphans and children without parental care, they will have no means to survive. And moreover, these are small children. They are suffering because of that armed fighting. If we speak about civil population with children, that's slightly different from children which remain in the streets now because they either don't have parents or are left without parental care. And we should prevent these children from staying in the streets, and we should take them and create homes for them. We should point out to this problem, attract attention of the government to this problem, and we always provided a lot of help, a lot of assistance to servicemen, to our military. But due to the joint efforts of the government and of volunteers, the Ukrainian servicemen are more or less provided with necessary means and necessary support and supplies, while children are left alone. And today, the problems of those children which remained without any care, this problem has become huge and very topical. Thus, thanks to Automaydan and thanks to the Christian Family Foundation, who took this responsibility to provide assistance to these children, we can do just something. Without support of our partners, third 100 of Maidan Self-defense is not a child care organization. Our primarily objective is to provide assistance to Ukrainian servicemen. We may evacuate children, we may transport them somewhere, but we cannot provide financial assistance. And now we are we are now fundraising for gasoline to evacuate children with special ambulance, with reanimation car, and I believe that from this moment on, we will get support from Christian Family Foundation, and at least these issues will be resolved. Let us listen to Ms. Myroslava's presentation first, and then we will ask questions. Mr. Andriy described the problem to us, and we understood that we have the right and we have the possibility to provide assistance in this particular case. In line with our articles of association, we should provide assistance to children who are deprived from their lives and who are suffering. And since we are charity organization, we have the right to raise funds for charity activities. We also have experience in writing letters, requests, applications, etc. Also, I should mention all those people who donated food, stuff, pamper, diapers, and money, milk, etc. for those children. I would like to thank to all those families. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank you for everything that you are doing, and I have some specific questions. So the first question: how many children did you evacuate to undergo heart surgery?
The kids evacuated from the city of Donetsk. Two of them are in the maternity, Automaydan clinic. One of them will be evacuated from Kiev, and another one will go away in the day after tomorrow. We had 4 kids prepared for a surgery, and we are now talking to the establishment where kids are at the moment, and we are talking to Automaydan about 9 kids who need surgery. You also mentioned that those kids are registered with other medical establishments in Donetsk region. So you will no, we will return them not to the DNR, to the part of Donetsk region where there is and will be peaceful, free our Ukraine. And DNR and LNR are also Ukraine, and they will be united. I hope for this as well, but this is dangerous to return kids to the combat action zone. Where those kids are, there's no combat action. My other question is, you mentioned kids who are with their grandmother, and you said that you can take them away from there. Does this mean that those families will be deprived of their parent rights? There are law enforcement bodies for this. The Automaydan and the Third Hundred never do anything breaking the law of Ukraine. We have applications for law enforcement bodies. We have found this situation, but we don't have legal expertise or the right given by the state to take a kid and transport somewhere. We're transporting them according to the legislation of Ukraine. There's also a problem with the delivery of food to orphanages, and the state does not have the mechanism to do this. Is there the same problem with the delivery of medicines? You know, in general, when we started to work in these directions, I understood that it is, I am not concerned with the flag that flies over the head of a kid. The main thing is that the problem is solved so that the child has everything, especially when children are ill. We find some drugs even abroad, and we ask our friends to provide the medicines that the children need. The children whom we are looking after have both food and drugs. And my last question is to Myroslava. You said that you have a legal possibility as a charity foundation to address some state bodies. Do you plan to address those who are responsible from the state side on this? And who is responsible for the fact that kids were not evacuated there from the very start? You know, the situation that you are talking about now is about the kids who are directly on the front line. You understand that when in a settlement the power is changed 3 times over 24 hours, we won't be able to write a letter to someone responsible. This child should be just taken away to the closest law enforcement body. We will make all our addresses and applications after the war. We have to work in combat actions in the zones of combat. We have to take kids away from there, but we can't do this because this is not because this is just anti-terrorist operation there. And if there's the anti-terrorist operation, then there are working law enforcement bodies there, and we address them, and they are either taking the kids away or not. Myroslava has not said what she's doing now. She invited children. I invited kids from Lysychansk, Luhansk region to come to us to Ternopil for their Christmas holidays with their teachers. They will live in families with their coevals. Those are students of the 9th, 10th, and 11th grades, 15 to 17 children. We still don't have precise information, but they agreed to come. We will try to provide for their transportation, accommodation, and good leisure so that children somehow get remove the stress that is on them so that they spend some days in silence and quiet with their coevals and go to some excursions. Also to Terebovля, 10 children come who are disabled, and they are coming there to have some rest as well. I'd like to add, as far as children are concerned and orphanages, why we often see that they are late. For instance, the orphanage in Artemivsk, and this is the peaceful Ukrainian territory, no combat action taking place there. There are different situations, but there are no combat action at the moment. So kids are more or less safe there. So the management of this orphanage have more than once asked for urgent medical checkup of these children. But before the volunteers have done this, before we address the Automaydan clinic, I think that those kids would have been left without any medical help. You know, they always say that it's not the time now, we can't do this now, this is another issue, and so on and so forth. But kids are not the ones to blame for this. We still see that much does not change in our country. The revolution of dignity has taken place, but a lot of issues are still at the same level. This shouldn't be so, and we have to be sort of an engine to give an impetus for the work of our state bodies and statesmen. We should show them how they should work correctly. We would like very much that everyone is responsible for what they should be responsible for, and so that there are no queues, there are no letters with a plea for help, so that this happens in time, and so that everyone does what they should do. You know, maybe you haven't heard about the letter of a girl who was terminally ill, probably. She has written a letter to our military that she's in Donbas now, that her mom cannot take her abroad because she may be saved only there, and she's dying now. But this girl at least has mom, and many kids who are there don't have anybody, and many of them can't even write. Some of them can't even hold their head. And this is a very unpleasant and very painful situation. And another danger is that, you know, there's a huge resonance. There's Dr. Lisa, as she's called. She's a doctor from Moscow who sometimes takes orphans and disabled kids from the occupied territory of Ukraine to Russia, and she publicizes this to Moscow. She takes them, and we know that she has taken away almost 100 kids, but in fact we don't have any documents for them, no account of those kids. We are not sure that Ukraine will see these children again. The children who should be taken to the peaceful territory of Ukraine are now being taken to Russia, and we are losing our genetic fund, and we can't stand this. You know, to continue what Sashko said, I can tell you that there is one interesting thing. Today, the management of medical provision of Donetsk region is in Donetsk, while the state administration, the regional administration, is in Kramatorsk. This is probably the answer to your question, whom we should address about those kids. I address my consciousness, and my conscience says you should go where it will be better chance, there will be a better chance to save a kid. We don't take them beyond the borders of Donetsk region. Now we have a good working relations with Artemevsk orphanage, and now there are other orphanages, for instance, to where we can take kids. In Horlivka alone, there are 4 orphanages, and Horlivka is now their territory, but this is the territory of Ukraine, and you should make arrangements with them as well, because they are Ukrainians as well. And my last question, you talk about kids, but what is the age of those kids? We take care of children under 4, maximum under 5. These are the children who cannot even hide when there's shelling. Not recently, many TV channels have shown a woman whose ceiling has collapsed and her husband has died, and the kids were taken from under debris. We have 2 kids who were dug out from under debris. I hope very much that all our plans with taking kids away from there, those 350 kids that we hope we will take, maybe God helps us, and we will take more, we will evacuate more than 1,000 kids, whatever we can do. But you understand that many of those children, taking into account the conditions they are in, need medical support and treatment. Many of them, like this little girl who wrote the letter, they are very badly and maybe even terminally ill, and they can be helped only abroad. So Ukraine cannot do everything, although the Automaydan clinic is maybe, well, probably it is the best cardiological children's clinic in Ukraine. But the problems, the kids can have different problems. I am scared to think about this, that if we evacuate all the children, who will provide them with treatment, so that we don't stand alone face to face with our problem. Regrettably, even now at the starting level, we don't have enough financial resources and other resources to provide a full scope of help to the kids. And what will happen next? So I hope very much that they will pay attention to us and provide us with some help. And people who are concerned, and especially concerned representatives of our state, will pay the attention to this problem. Thank you very much for your press briefing and for the work. Can I have another minute of your attention? This is the certificate of thanks to the Automaydan clinic and Sergei Vodyanitsky and Kurkevich, who are probably the best Ukrainian children's surgeon and an anesthesiologist, and Ivan Serdyuk, and for what is being done for kids. I want also to thank Myroslava on behalf of Automaydan Association and her husband, Ivan Hunya. Thank you very much for what you are doing for the kids. Thank you for what you are doing, for the help you provide to the kids, for the restoration of Ukrainian Genetic Fund and creating our bright future. So we thank you for the briefing and hope for the next meeting, encounter. Glory to Ukraine.